Hello all! Rezi Orenji here. How's it going, everybody? How's it going? Welcome to the stream. Hello, Gassy Inferno. How's it going? I've heard about music. Interested to learn more about this. You too are a knower of music. I'm glad to see you in this stream. But yes, welcome everybody. I've decided to do another music talk stream. I had a poll on Twitter recently where I'm kind of feeling conflicted on this myself because it's been difficult to sort of think. I mean, not difficult necessarily, but like, I don't know exactly what you guys want me to stream beyond these music talk streams, so I was wondering if I should be a variety streamer or stick more to this, but I've decided for this week I want to keeping on with these variety streams. Well, not variety streams, with these music talk streams. I want to connect with y'all, hear what y'all are listening, hear what my friends are listening to. And to that end, I've decided to bring on another guest today, and her name is Mist. She is a cambion Vtuber, has a fantastic voice, and very interesting taste in music. Welcome on,
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. I'm glad to be talking.
Yes.
So
Yes, as Resi said, I am the creepy cute cambion mist. Occasional singer and streamer most of the time, though. Recently, though, I've been kind of inactive, but that's another story here.
It's fine, we all have our inactive periods. My my own audience can attest to my own. So, what was I gonna say? What even is a cambion? Because I don't know if I'm familiar with that.
Right. So, a cambion is the easiest way to describe it would be basically the hybrid child between a demon and a regular human. The term cambion most recently was used pretty one of the main antagonists of Baldur's Gate 3 is a cambion. So,
oh, cool.
Yeah, the term is now a little bit more knowledgeable, but when I was little backstage, little behind the scenes trivia here, but as I was looking through rewriting lore, I remembered oh right, doesn't cambions exist? And so I just went for that.
Yeah, you're a bit of a D&D person yourself. I mean, we were talking a bit before stream about how you're running your own campaigns and stuff recently.
Well, running, it's I'm part of a group that my brother started. So
oh, okay.
And he wanted to have at least one campaign where he was a player, and I was like, I'll DM Curse of Strahd then, sure.
Oh, hell yeah. Curse of Strahd whips. What was I gonna say? Hello, Frank Stalag. Hello, Plastic One. Welcome.
Welcome.
What was I gonna say? Yeah, I don't know. Welcome to the Music Talk stream. I don't really have a structure to how I usually go about these. I tried, one time having notes and sort of trying to, structure it off of that, but I found it's just easy to bounce off of the chat naturally like a conversation. So I guess to sort of open up the floor. What do you like? What sort of music do you usually have going? What have you been listening to recently?
Oh dear.
That sort of thing.
My music taste is what I would probably say very eclectic and kind of a bit of a mess.
Hey, I'm right there with you.
But recently, in particular, I actually was at a concert yesterday.
Oh, cool.
Saw Ice Nine Kills live.
Oh, I've heard of them before. They like a metalcore.
Yeah, the metalcore band that makes songs based on horror movies and horror media.
That's cool.
So they have a whole horror aesthetic. But
yeah.
One of my because it's been mentioned, you've mentioned Visual Kei and metal, and that's mostly what I listen to.
Yeah, I was kind of Twitter stalking your timeline last night, just looking to see what at a glance what you like.
Yeah, I've been a fan of like visual K related, like bands related to visual K movement for most of my formative years up until now that I'm an adult in in a manner. Considering how I haven't mentioned my age, and I won't.
Yeah, VTubers are always ageless. We are the age we
Yes.
say we are.
Yeah, and also because I'm a cambion, I don't know whether I should count how old I am in demon years or human years. So
Yeah.
yay. But I grew up primarily listening to rock and metal.
That's cool.
Because my father like he introduced me to bands such as Evanescence, Within Temptation,
Wow.
Nightwish even. Ironically, out of those three bands, I only listen to Within Temptation nowadays.
Oh yeah. I don't
Nightwish
think I've ever heard them. I was looking at their discography on Wikipedia yesterday, and seems they're pretty big in Europe. But I don't know how well they're known they are in the States.
I'd say they're kinda I'd say they're kind of well known. I haven't really, funnily enough, a lot of people I've talked to that are from Europe didn't really know about Within Temptation either until I told them.
Okay.
So
That's
I think like out of all, so I think out of like those three bands that I mentioned, Within Temptation might be the one that is like the least known about. Because, and also like thinking about it, also like Nightwish and Evanescence kind of had at least one song of theirs become a meme.
Oh yeah.
So Within Temptation hasn't really had it, I think.
Yeah, Nightwish.
Not that I want.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Not that I necessarily want that to happen, unless it's like a wholesome meme. Then go ahead. But
oh yeah. You never like to see your music career turn into a meme. I mean, just look at fucking Smash Mouth.
yeah,
R.I.P. to that lead singer guy. I forget his name right now.
I don't remember his name either. But yeah, he did pass away last year.
Semi-recently, yeah.
Semi-recently.
Yeah, it's I haven't really listened to Nightwish in ages. They have a really interesting symphonic. I like symphonic metal to an extent. I don't know, like when you go all in with like the vibrato and the operatic singing, I feel that that tends to verge into the truly campy.
Yeah. It doesn't necessarily like. I'd say the operatic vocals are kind of a little bit less noticeable now with Flor Jansen.
Oh yeah.
And they were especially not there when Annette was still part of the band. But my problem with Nightwish is that the whole history with the band and like how Tarja got dismissed in a very rude manner, like in lack of a better pardon my language, but I'm just gonna say that the band did an absolute dick move not talking to Tarja first.
Oh, you never like to see that when band members just completely fall apart for lack of communication.
Yeah, I don't know all of the details, and honestly, I am kind of someone who just can't help but think, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm fine with not knowing.
Yeah, no, that's relatable. I'm a pretty big fan of Judas Priest, and there's a bunch of beef between like, what was it, KK Downing, their former guitarist, and like the rest of the lineup that they have now, to the point where he literally formed like a second band called KK's Priest with like the ex-singer of Judas Priest, Ripper Owens, Tim Ripper Owens. The guy who they brought in to replace Halford originally, right? And not only that, they also have, apparently, the guy who plays bass. He was in the ex-band of Richie Faulkner, who's one of Judas Priest's current guitarists. So it's just like, I was discussing this on a podcast with a few other guys, like, a few weeks ago. It just feels like an extremely petty thing going on between, like, those ex-bandmates, and it feels to me like I just wish they could sit down and hash it out, but you never know what underlying tensions are truly brewing underneath that.
Yep.
Mm.
is definitely uh they
Frank's Log. I started out listening to They Might Be Giants and we now listen to noise rock, progressive rock, and jazz fusion. Oh, yeah, I vibe with that heavy. You like progressive rock much at all?
I have been listening to well, I'm more for progressive metal and gent, but I do really
Oh
like
yeah.
progressive rock as well.
No, progressive metal is very sick. You know, I was talking with
Mm.
Saint Durandal my previous stream, and he was talking a lot about Dream Theater with me. I also really do dig Opeth. I know, like Nordic metal representation with the with the Swedish cambion here, but yeah, Opeth kick ass in my opinion.
Opeth are pretty neat. Some of my favorite progressive rock slash metal bands. Well, I guess they're more so metal than rock. Are
Yeah.
Periphery.
Oh yeah, I've heard of
Mm.
them. I've heard good things.
Yeah, yeah. I
Uh,
actually got to see them live a few months ago.
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I really wish I could go out and see more live concerts. No, I only make so much money a month, and I've already got
Yeah.
I've already got a few tickets for gigs I want to see later this year. So
Mm.
I feel happy enough with that. Although just yesterday, fucking Hololive announced their whole world tour thing, and they are literally going to be in my neighborhood. They're coming to
Whoa.
fucking New York City, and the literal King's Theater. I can walk there. Like, I don't know like what the fuck I'm gonna do, but somehow I need to scrounge up that fucking $90 for a mezzanine ticket.
Yeah,
I need
my
to be
thought.
there.
Yeah, regarding like the topic of concerts, my father is an avid concert goer and a hobbyist photographer. So
Oh,
most
yeah.
of the time, I've usually like he usually tells me like, "Hey, do you want to go? Do you want to go and attend this show? I can get your ticket." So
Oh,
I've
that's cool.
never really actually paid for my own tickets.
Wow, that's
Uh,
really lucky. I'm great to have friends like that, I'm sure.
well, the friend is my dad, but
Oh, well. Sorry. Yeah.
it's all right.
Well, what was to
Because like
say? Sorry, go ahead.
I'm pretty introverted by nature. I probably wouldn't go to concerts that much if it weren't for the fact that like I have my dad and I have my brother who both tend to go to a lot of concerts.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's nice to have a family to bond with there, I guess.
Mm.
Hey, Kie, welcome to the stream. Listening to They Might Be Giants and Tommy Boys recently. I haven't really listened to that much They Might Be Giants. Are you familiar with them much, Air?
I recognize the name, but I'm not sure if I've actually listened to them.
They're a very unique sound. Like they're kind of like between psychedelic, pop rock, sort of very quirky sort of sound, like indie stuff. There's this one album of theirs, 1990s Flood,
Might be-
and it's like,
Wait, weren't they the ones who made Istanbul?
yeah, Istanbul's not Constantinople and what have you. Yeah,
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I've heard of them and I've heard that song.
yeah. My first exposure to them, I think ages ago, my friend used to have this one Xbox game, Phantom Dust. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but like
No.
it's like this like action RPG card like game sort of thing, and it's really cool, very underrated hidden gem for the Xbox. And like there was this function where he could upload like his own soundtrack, and I remember like one of the arenas we used to play would have like that one song of theirs, a birdhouse in your soul. It's a very, very catchy song. Blue Canary in the Outlet by the Light Switch, that's watching over you. I love that tune. Yeah, no, I don't know though. Recently I've been listening to a lot of glam metal, so that's why I've been sort of I don't know. That's why I kind of was drawn to the whole visual K element
Mm-mm.
discussion and such. It's like if I feel like God, I'm about to like. I've been doing a lot of research recently for this upcoming series about the history of glam metal, and my whole issue is like just determining the scope and the bounds of each part because I want to be as thorough as possible, cover everything from like the 70s through the 90s, but to do so I got to go international, and God knows there's an entire other wormhole to go down when I get to Japan.
Mm-mm-mm.
Hey,
Yeah,
Jukebox
absolutely.
Cowboy, how's it going?
Hello, hello.
uh, yeah, no, I just like,
But yeah, fully understandable. I do think Visual K has had like a a fair bit of roots in like had a bit of inspiration from glam rock, but especially in the beginning, Visual K was way more like it was like a counterculture movement
oh yeah,
initially with
yeah,
Def
no,
Japan.
I feel that like there's so there are so many different things that were probably swirling around that whole culture, like between Kiss, between what was already going on in Japanese metal to that point, between like even like kabuki make like that's the thing, right? I don't know how much influence they would draw from like Kiss as opposed to just straight up traditional kabuki. I feel kind
Mm,
of I don't know, feel kind of guilty just painting that influence there one dimensionally, but
that's all right. Yeah, it is definitely something that like it's kind of hard to like know where exactly like the lines go, and like the lines do get blurred, and there are so many different like subtypes of visual K nowadays.
oh yeah, it's
Um,
interesting.
due to like there's like the initial one was a visual shock, with bands like the initial VK bands that appeared in the late 80s.
Yeah, shock
Uh,
rockish type stuff.
mm, yeah, or veteran K, I guess, is apparently also a term now that I'm looking. Like extra
Mm.
pan, backtick.
Oh yeah.
Um, uh,
Where did I put my?
then there's still a fair bit like more modern musicians that have taken inspirations from visual shock,
Yeah.
but it's not as many anymore. Like I think the most popular one for a very long time was Kisaki.
I see.
He had a record label called Undercoat Productions, and funnily enough, he was the bass guitarist for a band called Lasades, but that band disbanded because he was the only one that didn't want only one out of the 5 members that didn't want to like have like a record label debut. The rest of the band recruited a new bass guitarist, and they're nice. They're a nice few They're a bunch of nice fellas. The band is called Dir Angray. You may have not heard of them.
I've heard of Darren Gray. I
Yeah.
don't know if I've listened to their music extensively, but I've definitely heard the name.
Hmm.
uh,
Yeah, Dir Angray is my absolute favorite. I have all of their albums that's been released in the West, except for Falaris, which I haven't been able to find in any CD stores, but one day. Um, I also have 2 live DVDs, and in general, their music has been like very important to me, and like how to like figure out how like I approach music in a way, because
oh yeah.
I listen to music like very very often,
Mm.
like pretty much almost 24/7. The only time I don't have anything playing in my headphones is when I'm asleep.
Man, yeah.
Um,
I feel that.
and like Diran Grey was like one of the reasons why I wanted to learn more about like the intricacies of the Japanese language, because Kyo,
mm.
their singer and lyricist, like is very well known for like using like wordplay, and it sometimes it can be very difficult to like, wait, what the hell is this song about actually?
Oh, that's yeah, yeah. So you kind of
Yeah.
need your own like Japanese lyrics genius or whatever to go through
Yeah.
it.
There are several people that do like English subbed videos with like their own translator notes in the descriptions though. So some
That's
people
dope.
are like trying to understand, and it's very
Yeah.
nice.
Do you speak? Sorry, go ahead.
Apart from Diran Grey, there are other bands, of course, that have had a connection to the Visual K movement that I do like, whether they still have it or if they don't
Oh
anymore,
yeah.
or used to be like post visual. D as an example, the Gazette, and one that I recently came back to, Versailles or Versailles Philharmonic Quintet.
That's a cool name.
Versailles was one of my absolute favorites. Is still probably one of my absolute favorites, actually.
Yeah. What Japanese glam bands are you planning on covering? Well, that plastic one. It's interesting, right? Because there's so many different layers I could talk. Like early on in the day, like obviously a lot of Japanese metal was inspired by Bow Wow. Like I don't know if you've ever heard of Bow Wow, but they're fantastic. Essentially, the Japanese Van Halen in my eyes. Like they had a very flashy.
I think some musicians that I've watched interviews with might have mentioned them as an
Oh
inspiration.
yeah, absolutely. Like they were definitely a seminal influence in Japanese metal. So I would probably talk a lot about them, but also like there were these bands like Loudness, Azo, what was there's this one Shoya, I think is that the all female metal band.
Which one did you say?
Shoya, I think their name is. So I could be wrong
yeah.
there.
Okay. I might have to look that up.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, definitely I can.
Yeah, no, they're Shoya is the name of the band, and they've got some pretty cool things like their albums, Outer Limits, Hard Way, Glamour. I was listening to a few of their tracks, like to get a feel for if they're glam enough to be in the glam video. And yeah, they're definitely in that sort of 80s metal vein. Frank Stalog saying, I think the best way to get into prog rock is to listen to albums with prog elements. For example, Queen's Queen 2, Asia's debut, Led Zeppelin's House of the Holy, and Black Sabbath's Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. I would agree with that, I think. There's definitely a lot more, prog elements to go around in 70s rock and maybe even 80s rock too, but I don't know, entry-level progressive rock music isn't that hard to come by. I mean, like, fuck's sake, Rush and Pink Floyd, like, it's very easy to... There are a lot of gateways into progressive rock, I've found. Flatbacker, what is Flatbacker, Jukebox Cowboy? Flatbacker.
I mean, classics aren't the classics aren't bad, Steven. Pre-ECO, EZO.
Pre-Azo. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if I've heard of. Oh, okay, yeah. They formed as Flatbacker, then became Azo. Like the thing with Azo, apparently they were produced by Gene Simmons of Kiss. Like he was doing a lot of production work back in the 80s for glam metal, so it'd be interesting to see what the hell he was doing in Japan with those guys. Or rather, if they went to the West Coast. That happened a lot, surprisingly. Japanese musicians coming over to the Western Coast, recording in, like Los Angeles studios and, having a Western mixed album, essentially. I feel like that should be talked about a lot more because, the history of the 80s and the United States-Japanese relations, very tense, very, lot of, tensions over the fucking, deindustrialization or whatever, marked with racism and all that ugly stuff.
Yep.
But you also had a lot of like cultural collaboration going on between like Japanese pop music, Japanese rock, like Maria Takeuchi, like some of her earliest albums were
Oh
recorded
yeah.
in Los Angeles.
Mm.
It's really interesting
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. The Maria Takeuchi becoming so well known now is just so interesting in a way.
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
I'm very happy about that. But
I mean, just like the genre of city pop as a whole, I feel like I don't know, like if it's necessary. Like, if I feel like it's taken off in the West because, in a sense, you know, it is the '80s. It screams the '80s, but it's an '80s that we never really had. Like,
yeah.
in essence, like. And I guess that's bearing out in our pop music nowadays, where we're seeing more of a focus on like a return to the 80s sound and like trying to bring that back into the mainstream. It makes sense why like I feel like a lot of that, like latching on to Maria Takeuchi and people like Tatsuro Yamashita, is just like trying to cling on to an 80s that, you know, you've heard was very deep and proud, but it's almost like discovering an 80s for yourself, you know?
Yeah. It's always fascinating seeing how a decade was like managed in a different way.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
like-
You know, I love seeing like the Japanese pop industry and how they've taken from like such a wide variety of influences, like in the West with like they had a lot of jazz fusion going on. They had a lot of disco, a lot of funk, a lot of R&B stuff. It's a very eclectic sound, like city pop. Not just city pop, just like Japanese jazz fusion in general. I don't know if you've heard much of Cassiopeia, but they're fucking amazing. Cassiopeia, highly recommended. I mean, if you like that sort of jazz fusion.
I think I might have heard of them, but I need to double check later.
Very good. I highly recommend their 1982 album Mint Jams. It's like a live sort of well, it is a live album, but the way it's recorded, it pretty much sounds like as clean as possible, like a studio perfected record, and it's just amazing back to front. Let's see. You should mention Lazy. They had a lot of Van Halen Deep Purple influence. Interesting. And those were the guys who went on to form Loudness.
Oh, Ryuichi Sakamoto.
Richie.
Yeah, he definitely had like.
Is he? He was in Yellow Magic Orchestra. Yeah.
Yeah, Yellow Magic Orchestra, and the last movie he composed the score for was Hirokazu Koreeda's Kaibutsu, which came out last year.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's. He composed for The Revenant? Wow, I didn't even know that.
You know what? That tracks. That doesn't surprise me at all hearing it.
Yeah. God. I need to sit down and listen to more of like Yellow Magic Orchestra and that stuff. I'm far more familiar with the line of Japanese pop that goes from like what was it? Not Happy End, fucking Sugar Babe through Tatsuro Yamashita, their whole relations with Maria Takeuchi and what have you, and who's that other? Miki Matsubara,
Matsubara,
her.
Yes.
Fuck.
Wait.
It's not her. No, Taiko Onuki, I think, is the other one that was with. She and Tatsuro Yamashita, they were in like a band early on called Sugar Babe, and they only put out one album, and it's pretty decent. But you know, then they went on to have such fantastic solo careers. It's just insane that's that whole sort of history. If I could speak Japanese, I would probably I would cut all ties and do a video on that, but you know, alas.
Never say never, though.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. YouTube's algo went wild recommending mint jams a few years back. One of the few times that it nailed a recommendation. Oh yeah, no. Yeah, that's the one thing about Cassiopeia and like other Japanese jazz fusion. Like that is basically YouTube algorithmic crack. I don't know why, but like the West just ate up like Japanese jazz fusion and city pop. Might have been because of vaporwave, probably.
Yeah, vaporwave probably had some had a
Yeah.
what's the word?
I mean,
I
it
don't
had
remember what the word is, but yeah.
it had some sort of impact. It revived. It absolutely. I mean, like the fact that you had these. I mean, the sampling that vaporwave has done is nothing really new. I mean, like what with Plunderphonics, just like going back through old obscure records and like the bargain bin of a record store to find beats and stuff. That's something that's existed for decades. But what vaporwave did in like going through like these foreign Japanese beats and just like exposing an entire new generation to these decades old like pop records, it feels like a renaissance almost in pop.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, not that I listen to much mainstream pop these days, but
I
don't know.
don't either.
I
A lot
always
of mainstream pop I just genuinely do not understand.
yeah. I always like though when, you know, I hear them pulling up old like funk, disco, R&B type grooves. I feel like that's the sort of thing that's coming up a lot more because of like the impact, not just vaporwave, but like more specifically future funk. Like a lot of the stuff that like Saint Pepsi was doing, a lot of other artists that I just can't think of right now because, you know, they're all like named with like Japanese characters and other sorts of
Yeah.
obscure technical brands or whatever.
The kanji, hiragana, katakana
Oh,
can be a
yeah.
little confusing. Speaking of YouTube algorithm, Gassy in the chat can attest to this. It was one morning when I woke up and I just got Tally Hall in my feed for no particular reason. And I was just sitting there like, what the hell?
Oh yeah.
Specifically, Banana Man.
Banana. What is this?
Tally Hall. Tallyyhall.
Tally Hall and Banana Man. I'll have to
Yeah.
keep note of that.
It's like I still wonder like why was it in my feed? Will I ever know?
It's those
Probably not.
it's those little serendipitous occurrences that happen on the YouTube algorithm, or whenever
Yep.
you're hanging out with friends and they, you know, they had like this obscure video recommended to them and then they share it with you. Those are some of the best like music discoveries I find.
Yeah, I told Gassy about a Japanese noise musician called Merspow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and the day after, he just sent me a video recommendation he got called "Guy Brushes His Teeth at a Merspow Concert," and just comments, "I listened to one album," and like I just couldn't help but laugh at that.
Oh my god. Merspow, I tend to consider myself a pretty open-minded music guy. Like I studied music history in college. I know all about like avant-garde and, you know, serialism and pointillism and all that very unlistenable shit. But like I just don't know how to approach an artist like Merspow, you know, like somebody who makes
get
noise
that.
exclusively to make noise. You know, I hear they have like a gigantic hours-long box set that's just like consisting of all these gigs, like all these noise improvisations, and I have to wonder, like with Merspow fans, like how do they like differentiate all that stuff? How do they like? How do you pinpoint like what's your favorite Merspow song? Right? Well, maybe song's the wrong word.
Yeah.
What's your favorite Merspow piece? Like I don't know. Like how would you determine that?
Yeah, that's like I don't think that's easy to do. I've only listened to a few Merzbow
Yeah.
pieces, and that was years ago.
Uh,
But he also collabed with a band called
oh
Boris
yeah. Oh, I've heard
a
of
few
Boris.
times.
They're like a
Yeah.
stoner rock thing, right?
Yeah,
S-
stoner rock. Kind of. I've gotten like shoegazer vibes from them at
Oh
times.
yeah. That's neat. To be fair, I think Merzbow wasn't sober when he made his best known stuff. Okay. Well,
That would explain a lot, actually.
uh, got Neighborhoods by Ernest Hood in my recommendations once. Interesting. I'll have to note that down.
I've been. My father made it so that me, and my brother all swapped to another streaming service called
Oh
Tidal.
yeah.
Because my father was more like adamant on like wanting higher audio quality and also supporting making sure that the musicians get more money than what they would have gotten from Spotify.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm just lazy, and I've
I
had
get
all
that,
my
it's fine.
I have all my playlists on Spotify that I've sort
Yeah.
of pieced together.
Yeah, for
if
me
there
it's
was-
like
sorry, go ahead.
if I don't pay for it, so I might as well use it, like that kind of feeling.
Oh yeah.
Um,
No, totally. Like, if there were an easy way for me to export like all the sort of music I listen, or like just the specific playlists and the tracks, if there were a way for me to export that into like a different platform like Apple Music or Tidal, I would have been away from Spotify ages ago. Like it's interesting you don't really hear about like those lesser platforms like Tidal or Deezer though. Like I wonder why they haven't caught on as far as like market share as much as those other services.
mm. Yeah, I guess that's a bit. I didn't even know that Deezer was an actual. Wait, no, that's a lie. I did see a video of. I think it was like I think Ghost performed three
Yeah,
songs for, like
there's
Deezer sessions during
there's like
during the Memoria Meliora era even.
there's this like really really good Tame Impala live session that Deezer had, like from back when they did what was it, Currents, back when that was a newish album, and that was fucking lit. Hearing them go through like stuff like Let It Happen, and I think they do why won't you make it up? Why won't you make up your mind live, and all like sort of synthed up, and it's lit. So good on Deezer for having the the finances and the good marketing know-how to to attach your name to that sort of thing. But like,
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you one feature that Deezer has as a as a streaming platform.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, I agree.
Oh.
But was it else? It was. I was thinking about something. I was thinking about like. I had something in my head that I wanted to say, but now I don't remember what it was just because of it.
That's okay. He'll probably come
Wait, yeah,
back.
I remember.
Oh,
I wanted to because Ryuichi Sakamoto was mentioned.
oh yeah.
Something I do. I really enjoy listening to like video game and movie soundtracks
Oh yeah.
time to time.
No, I hear
one of
that
my
too.
Yeah, one of my personal favorites ever, like game soundtracks, is have always been for the first 4 Silent Hill games.
Oh.
Yamoka.
That's cool. Yeah, I admittedly haven't. I've never played like those older Silent Hill games, and I feel bad because I feel like Konami are actively trying to erase them now. So I don't know if I'll ever
Yeah,
get to.
they are. Before I stopped using Spotify, I noticed that they removed the official soundtracks for Homecoming, Origins, and Shattered Memories. So.
God, fucking Konami, man. They're just. I mean, I'm a
people
metal.
still have the gall to say that to tell people to stop whining and just think like, hey, maybe the Silent Hill 2 remake might be good. You can't like. You can't just say that. You can't just say that it's gonna be awful, but from a few
Yeah.
trailers. We have the credentials to prove that we can actually do this. Silence.
No, trust me, I'm a Metal Gear fan, so I know how it
Oh.
feels to get fucked over by Konami too. Delta looks interesting, but I just don't have the confidence in Konami to deliver on like the Metal Gear franchise entry ever again the way that
Yeah.
Kojima would. So like it sucks that they're trying to erase that sort of soundtrack history, make that less easily accessible, but at the very least we've always got fans trying to preserve that shit.
Also, we have good Silent Hill games now anyway, like Signalis, or so I've heard.
Oh yeah, no, I've heard good things about Signalis.
The best version of Silent Hill 2 will continue to be the PlayStation 2 rip of the Enhanced Edition mod, acquired through entirely legal means.
Winky face.
Good to know. I might have to ask you about that later, Gareth. Gassy is one of my chat mods, so.
Oh, that's cool. Well, welcome, Gassy. I'm glad you could. We're glad you could make it. Yeah, some of my favorite video game soundtracks. I used to grow up on like old Rareware games. So like Donkey Kong Country, Banjo-Kazooie, like David Wise and Grant Kirkhope were basically like they were my musical fathers growing up. Like I didn't really care rather for like mainstream like rock or pop or any of that until like Guitar Hero. I was such a nerdy little gamer back in the day.
Some other like game soundtracks that I really enjoy have been for the first Bravely Default.
Oh yeah.
Composed by. You go first.
Sorry, that's that one Square Enix RPG, right?
Yeah, it was supposed to have been a Final Fantasy spin-off title, but then they decided, nah, we'll make it its own thing.
Okay. Agreed about Konami,
Rising,
but oh yeah, Rising.
The thing about Metal Gear Rising is that I think Kojima still had a bit of like he like saw over the project.
Oh
like,
yeah.
He just didn't really direct it or anything. Like, the majority of things were like platinum.
It was originally gonna be like a Kojima production game, I think. Like they had like a few tech demos of like Raiden slicing up melons and beams and shit beforehand, but that didn't really get anywhere until I think he handed it over to Platinum.
Yeah.
But
probably because he was too busy with what eventually would become Ground Zeroes and Phantom Pain.
Yeah, but talk about fucking soundtracks though. Like that entire
Metal
Gear Rising fucking whips.
Really good. I still remember the first time I played the game and went and like got to the first boss fight. And Rules of Nature started playing, and I was just like, okay, we're. And
that's a Metal Gear Ray as your first boss, and just like. You know what sort of game you're getting.
Yeah, and everything just starts with you blocking its blade.
Yeah.
Right,
Neverhood soundtrack is my favorite video game OST. I don't think I've ever heard of Neverhood.
Oh, also, Divinity Original Sin 2 soundtrack is super stellar. Composed by Borislav Slavov, who has gotten a lot of praise for his work on Baldur's Gate 3.
Oh, that's interesting. Sin. I'm not too familiar with all those composers that do like, I guess this sort of tactical RPGs and stuff.
Fair enough.
But that's neat. What else do I like as far as video games? I mean, I could go off for days about like fucking Nintendo soundtracks, of course.
I understand entirely.
Going back to like, I was just before stream. I've been playing a lot of Pokerogue recently. I don't know if you're familiar with Pokerogue.
I know of it, yes.
But it's probably one of my favorite like Pokemon fan creations ever. But just like going back and like hearing I mean, I know a lot of it's like original music too, but like hearing those old like sort of Pokemon battle themes and stuff, it's really you can tell those composers really did the fucking work to make you. I mean, it kind of sounds corny, but believe you are in the Pokemon world.
Yeah.
uh, was
It's like one of my favorite Pokemon games is actually X and Y.
oh yeah.
I'm a Gen 6 defender through and through
Oh
because it was
yeah.
the Pokemon game. There was the X was like the Pokemon game that got me back into playing Pokemon again.
Honestly, fair
After-
enough.
Yeah. So, like I had a very personal reason for why I stopped playing Pokemon as a kid.
Yeah.
I call it the cartridge incident.
Oh god.
Basically, my brother got Pokemon Diamond when it was new, and one day the cartridge just mysteriously disappeared, and he and our stepbrother blamed it on me for several years,
No.
even though I had nothing to do with it.
God.
Kids can be assholes, just saying.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially
remember telling-
siblings.
Yeah, I remember telling the story to someone, and they just went, "I want to beat up your brother so fucking bad." I'm like, "It's fine, they don't remember this," which probably good for them.
Pinball guy here that said, speaking of glam, the new Elton John machine is fantastic. There's an Elton John pinball machine?
I just learned about that too.
Elton John pinball machine. I mean, he was the pinball wizard in Tommy, so it makes sense. But yeah, no, I kind of relate to that whole like dipping out of love with the Pokemon franchise for a time, because like, you know, I loved the franchise like from I think. Well, I was introduced with Crystal, but like I had all the games from like Gen 1 through 3. But then I kind of just bounced off of Gen 4. But then Unova came, and I was like, holy shit, oh my god.
Yeah.
Unova was like
Yeah.
my sort of like world-rocking thing. And, you know, I liked X and Y just fine too, but personally, I think 3D Pokemon peaked with Sun and Moon. That's...
Yeah, I liked Sun and Moon. I did not like the Ultra games though.
Yeah.
They had perfect ways of trying to like change things up to make it a drastically different game, and they just didn't.
Yeah,
And it annoys me.
I mean, my
Also,
thing with
there's
Sun and Moon, it's just like that. Those games have like such a nuanced, rich, mature story, and I feel like, you know, at least from what I've heard about like the Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, it feels like they threw out a lot of that stuff for just like crazy shit.
Yeah, I played both regular Moon and Ultra Moon, and in retrospect, I grew very like bitter regarding the Ultra Sun and Moon story because
Oh yeah.
they basically downplayed Lusamine,
Oh yeah.
making
yeah.
her not as antagonistic as she was in
Yeah.
it
And that
was in the original game, and it's
That
like
fucking sucks because I feel like she was super well written in that like
she
original.
was super well written, but because they needed to make two games about Necrozma, she had to take a back seat, and I'm just sitting here like.
And of course they did that without
Really?
giving us a goddamn Zygarde game first.
Well, we're getting a Legend said, but
That's true. That's true.
yeah. The problem is that I was so burned by Pokemon Sword and Shield and the launch of Scarlet and Violet that I genuinely could not give a shit.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I feel like we're getting a bit off track though with the Pokemon talks.
Yeah. Whoops.
What was you mentioned film soundtracks, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Um,
what sort of I don't know what sort of music in your movies
I
do
watch
you
a lot
usually
of
gravitate toward?
horror movies nowadays.
Oh yeah.
That's like almost always what I exclusively watch. And some of my favorite film soundtracks have been either from that or from like documentaries, because that's all I really have the energy from watching.
No, that makes
watch.
sense.
When I think of like a recent movie that I thought had a really like impressive soundtrack that I watched recently This is gonna sound so silly. The first Terrifier movie.
The
You don't know about
I
Terrifier?
I'm not familiar.
It's infamous for being really, really gory.
Oh yeah, I'm
It's
looking
the
at the
one with
poster.
the
Looks like
yeah, it's
that
the one
looks
with
like
the
a creepy
it's the one with
clown.
like that terrifying clown that doesn't speak.
Yeah, that's interesting. I do respect like really good like horror soundtrack scores, like
Hmm.
for putting you in that mood, for putting the right fear of God in you. Fucking like I know like Jerry Goldsmith didn't really compose like everything in the original Alien film. Like there was a lot of like he composed his own score, I know, but then Ridley Scott like was like, but there's this creepier, more like atmospheric music that works so much better, and it did to his credit. But kind of sucks for Jerry Goldsmith that his main theme for Alien didn't really isn't really, you don't really think about it too much.
Yeah.
I saw the TV Glow as the film soundtrack I've been listening to most recently. That's interesting. I've heard a lot of great things
Oh.
about I Saw the TV Glow.
I haven't watched Prom Night in a while, but I did recently watch the Dead Meat Kill Count on it that came out like a few weeks ago.
Oh yeah, that's
It's a very weird movie.
Dead Meat. Are they the same people as Papa Meat, or I'm not as familiar with the horror content creator
I don't
sphere,
think so.
but-
No.
Okay.
Goblin. Yes, Jukebox. That's actually a good one.
Oh,
Goblin
Goblin.
soundtrack for Suspiria is another favorite of mine, especially
Oh,
the
yeah,
main theme.
They're like the Italian prog band that do stuff like that, right? Yeah, I've heard of them before.
They were known for composing the soundtrack to a lot of Dario Argento's early movies.
Oh hell yeah. I don't know. I love when like films are able to, tastefully incorporate like needle drops and stuff, like taking like popular songs and putting them in. I mean, you can do it very poorly, just look at fucking Suicide Squad, but I love a film that tastefully incorporates not just a, good original soundtrack, but nice real real good needle drop moments.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I wish like I don't know. There used to be more of a thing where you like artists had like original tracks contributed to like sound like horror soundtrack films, but like I feel like you see that a
Yeah.
lot less.
Yeah, very much so. I remember. Hold on, let me try and just collect my thoughts real quick.
No
yeah,
problem.
But yeah, I remember. I remember. I think it was. When The Crow came out in 1994.
Oh yeah.
9 Inch Nails. I almost said Einstein Kills. No. 9 Inch Nails made a cover of Joy Division's Dead Souls.
Yeah. And they also had oh no, that's not right. I was thinking that they had Filter on that soundtrack, but no, Filter did a bunch of other great soundtrack songs in the 90s. Yeah, shit, that's a stacked soundtrack. I'm looking at it now with The Crow, and they had fucking 9 Inch Nails, Rage Against the Machine, Pantera, Helmet. Like, the 90s was just a different vibe for film soundtracks, and it was great.
Yeah. Like, it's so funny how The Crow is, like, the movie adaptation is such a perfect time capsule of the 90s.
I've never seen it personally. I've only really heard, friends raving about it, but at some point I ought to take a look.
It's one of my absolute favorite movies.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
It was like one of the first ones that my dad and I watched together.
Oh, all right.
So
Does John Mickle Thor fit into the glam metal thing? Who is John Mickle Thor? Let me look that up.
Keep the dogs away. This isn't. I mean, I don't really know all that much about glam metal, so.
Yeah, it's okay. Canadian bodybuilding champion, actor, songwriter, screenwriter, historian, vocalist, and musician. That's a resume.
A lot of occupations.
And his soundtrack band, The Thorchestra. I have not heard of any of this. That's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. You mind if I step away for a bit, just grab some water? Because I seem to have run dry.
No problem.
Alright. I will, let me put up my, water graphic here. And, oh god. And I will be right back.
Why did I do a gesture in real life as he said that? That was only felt like the pressure was on for me to try and keep you all entertained while Redsy's away.
And I am back. Let me just...
Welcome back.
Water out of my way. Hello, everybody. Hello.
I was trying to think of something to talk about while you were gone, but I couldn't come up with anything.
No, it's okay. I was doing the same. I was, Do you go to very many local gigs? I've been thinking about that a lot recently because I've actually, I'm in a few bands myself in the New York City area and what have you, so I've gotten the chance recently to play a few shows, and I don't know, I'm still sort of buzzing off the energy from that.
Some of... well, I don't really go to local gigs myself, but my brother has been a roadie and now backing vocalist for the band Corroded. So I did actually last week. Yeah, last week. I actually go to one of their shows at a relatively recently opened live venue, because we don't really have that many smaller.
Oh, that's cool.
Live venues. We don't really have that many smaller ones, sadly.
Yeah, that's
we used to have a fair share amount. Yeah, we used to have a fair share amount, but then families with kids complain about filed sound complaints, even if
man, that's no way to maintain a music scene.
Really isn't, no.
A lot of buzzing.
So we do have a lot of some of the biggest concert venues and such are here in those. I live in the capital city.
No, it's a kind of a similar situation with New York, right? Like a lot of there's still a good healthy amount of venues in the different boroughs, but especially with COVID and whatnot being a financial pressure, you have local businesses closing down and what have you, and you gotta know more people these days to get into shows and what have you. So it's definitely a very support local music, everybody.
Support local music. Support your local scene.
Yeah.
Support your local anything, really.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Totally.
just have to be music.
Definitely. A bit of buzz and chat there about a band called Death. I think I've heard of that documentary. I've definitely heard of the band Death before. Have you, Ed?
Yes, I do know about Deaf.
They're
I
I mean,
mean,
there's
context that sounded really stupid.
there are a few different bands named Death, but I think the one they're talking about, there's this they're this Detroit proto-punk band, like a bunch of black punk rockers early on, like making this heavily political music, you know, at a time where you know, black political activism was basically, you know, under more siege than it had ever been in the United States. Well, in recent contemporary United States history, because, you know, this was coming right after the Civil War movement. There was COINTELPRO going on. The Black Panthers were being heavily targeted, and, you know, you had all these these people in Death, you know, coming up and making this you know, essentially pioneering punk rock. It's very cool.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
what was it? I remember hearing their story a few years back. What was it? They only gained this recent modern exposure, I think, because of the documentary and like Drag City putting out their older music. But God, I was looking at it. Oh, Frank Stalog, true, yeah. No, it's great stuff. I don't know. I need to listen. I personally, punk is one of those genres that, you know, there's so much underground material to listen to that, you know, that people in the know recognize as like seminal, influential albums that I just haven't gotten around to because they're so, you know, obscure and underground and whatnot, right? Like, I don't know. Pure Hell was another band that, if you enjoy African American proto-punk, oh, that's interesting. I'll have to note them down. Yeah,
And
no,
I was thinking,
sorry, go
since
ahead.
you mentioned, I was actually thinking now, since you asked me if I knew about the band Def. The funny thing is, it actually kind of goes back to Diran Grey.
Oh
And
yeah.
how I found out about them, because Loudwire used to have these like extreme mental Olympics, like
Oh,
online boat stuff, and Diran Grey won both editions
Mm-hmm.
with the same album,
Yeah.
and managing to beat like bands like Cannibal Corpse and Def, and is like,
Oh
that's
yeah.
kind
That's pretty incredible.
that's pretty fucking incredible for a band who was only starting to get popular in the West back then.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially
Basically-
when Death was still going and still like. I mean, I say all this, and I haven't really listened to much Death. You know, that death metal is one of those genres that, you know, the most extreme metal that I'm willing to sit down and listen to and just fucking love, I think would probably be like Slayer, right? You go back and listen to shit like Rain and Blood and Seasons in the Abyss, and it's just like the closest thing to fucking evil in sonic form. But you listen to death metal, and you know, you say there's a lot people could say about like the evil in the lyrics or the sound or whatever, but just like, to me, a lot of it comes off just as very I don't know, like very muddled. Maybe I'm just not listening to the right death metal.
I mean, I still get that. I'm someone who doesn't really like when there's too much harsh vocals.
Oh yeah.
So I usually don't. Death metal is like death metal and such are like genres that I don't listen to that often.
Yeah.
And when I do, it's usually like whenever I do, it's usually like either melodic or maybe some deathcore.
I mean, I imagine like black metal is the more popular, like extreme metal genre out your way, right? Like, given the whole legacy of the Nordic metal scene.
Yeah, particularly in Norway.
Yeah.
I mean, Mayhem's most famous vocalist,
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
guy who was
that whole story.
yeah, Parolin, dead. Yeah, he was
Yeah.
Swedish, so yeah.
Yeah. I like punk music, but there's so much arguing about whether or not bands qualify as punk. Yeah, no, I definitely feel that, Plastic One. I don't really like wading into the discourse of how much a band is of their particular genre, because I feel like,
Mm.
I don't know, just with my experience of having studied music in college and being familiar with like music theory and music history, I'm comfortable with bands who like to synthesize a lot and like incorporate other sounds into what might traditionally be like, a very like solid sort of domain, a set of rules or what have you, like,
Mm-hmm.
so like if there's a lot of debate about like that early punk music and like artsy stuff like Patti Smith and Talking Heads and how that evolved into new wave. And actually recently with like the research I've been doing for the glam metal video, there's a bit about like back in the late 70s, early 80s with the rise of the Los Angeles punk scene, those guys were very much going against like the direction of new wave and early punk music and trying to purposely scale things back, strip things back, be as like loud and aggressive and in your face as possible. And that's cool. I like hardcore punk. I like post-hardcore and all that stuff. But I don't know, there's so much rich music under the banner of punk that, if you're just willing to expand your horizons a little bit, like it's a truly diverse genre. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no. The thing, like, my brother had like a punk rock phase when when we were growing up, and I remember in particular that he really, really liked Sex Pistols.
Oh yeah. The Sex Pistols, they're a really interesting case because they're a very seminal punk rock band, and they definitely should get their flowers for like a lot of the simple stuff that they wrote that was very very provocative, very effective. But like, there's also the gigantic story of how like they were basically sort of manufactured by their manager Malcolm McLaren and put together from scratch to be one of the most provocative youth bands in the UK punk scene. It's really interesting.
Yeah, the thing for me is like my main exposure with Pistols was through reading the biography of Sid Vicious' girlfriend Nancy Spungen.
Oh gosh.
Which I did when I was in middle school. Probably not a smart idea, but
oh, you poor little ant.
I grew up fast, unfortunately. So
Pistols were arguably a glam band. Interesting.
I guess so.
I mean,
but like it
is interesting because actually the Pistols manager Malcolm McLaren, before he worked for the Sex Pistols, he worked with the New York Dolls, who were themselves a pretty influential punk band in like the United States. Like they came out of New York very much in the sort of draggy, glammy makeup style, but they were playing this very hard, fast, trashy garage rock sort of stuff. It's very. I would say like, Dolls and Pistols are certainly in the same lineage. I don't know if the Pistols are like entirely glam though. They weren't interested in music. They were interested in chaos. Yeah, that I would agree with.
I agree with that 100%.
Vivienne Westwood stage clothes, right? Oh yeah. No, Vivienne Westwood had a great sense of fashion. I love those like early like London like like fashionistas back in the day. That was a really cool scene. But I don't know if that's the sort of shit I would wear on stage. It's not my aesthetic.
It's just so interesting how like Sex Pistols used to kind of be regarded with like some kind of respect
Yeah.
when I grew up. But now that I actually look back at it, like they did, yeah,
I
just
mean, they
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 were,
they were the
yeah,
most commercial punk bands of the early days, for better and for worse, right? Because obviously, them being so out front and center inspired a lot of other bands to adopt that whole sort of chaotic anti-authority attitude themselves. But at the same time, they only put out one album. They basically fucking disintegrated after that album.
yep,
Their
and said
entire
also died in mysterious circumstances.
their entire situation was managed by a guy who was arguably more focused on being this self-serving artistic asshole than a
Yeah.
viable band manager. So
Hmm.
I don't know. There's a million different directions the Sex Pistols' career could have gone, and it's crazy how big that got. Yeah, no, exactly. Like, just the fact that they had like a #1 hit single in the UK, like back in 1977, as provocative as "God Save the Queen." That was a crazy moment in British pop history. uh, where did I put my?
Sid's hair was a failed attempt at Bowie. Yeah, I can imagine that.
Yeah, a lot of early punk rockers, I feel like, took their cues from David Bowie. Like, there was a lot of probably intersection between the glam scene and the punk scene, given that you had these rock stars, who played this hard and fast rock music, but then again looked like, very androgynous, very girly in some cases. Like,
Hmm.
there's a lot of power in doing something like that. Like challenging authority, challenging gender norms. Like, the New York Dolls, they used to have their shows like raided by police, and they used to get like beat up on by random people for wearing their glammy makeup and drag and stuff, despite being very tough and macho in their music otherwise. It's just like people fear that sort of challenge to authority, and I wonder, in some sense, why that edge was blunted with glam metal, because you go back and listen to a lot of like the big domineering hits of that period. A lot of it isn't as aggressive as much as it is like just obsessed
Yeah,
with hedonism.
very much so.
Yeah. I think they're more remembered for the story than the music. I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's another thing too, right? Like, there are bands that have more, I guess, infamy for their story than for the music they actually write. Like, God, I'm gonna have to talk about Motley Crue for more hours than I ever would want to in my life for the glam metal
Oh,
series.
God.
And
Just, is this? I can't take Motley Crue seriously anymore. Ever since
No, I understand entirely. Like, it's after like their first
Like,
two albums, I've been listening to those a lot recently. The first two albums, I think, are really good. Like, a really sort of midway fusion of like hard rock, punk rock, and like the glamier sort of aesthetics, the shock rock sort of aesthetics of like the 70s bands like Alice Cooper and Kiss. Like, it's all there, and it's all very very engaging, like very I don't know, salacious sort of rock music, but definitely it's very great. But then, like, I think the turning point for them sort of came with like 1984, when they got even more debaucherous on the road, to the point of literally fucking killing like Hanoi Rocks' drummer in that drunk driving incident that Vince Neil got
yeah.
himself into. And then fucking after that, they just went even more fucking glam and commercial, and they started doing power ballads, and Nikki Sixx had his well, not to say that that's to blame for, their whole decline, but, obviously they got harder into the drugs at that time, and just like,
Yep.
they got far more about the salacious image than they did the music, and it's just they really suffered for it.
Mm-hmm.
The Hoople by Mott the Hoople, there it is, the blueprint. Oh yeah, no, also that too, like the early glam bands like Mott the Hoople and all that stuff. I mean, like, I've always been more of a fan of Sweet, like in that terms of that whole early UK glam scene, but that's a whole other thing. I don't know.
Yeah, it's can be a bit tricky sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Motley Crue was another band that my brother really liked.
Oh yeah.
Back then, way back. But we always preferred Nikki Sixx's solo project.
Oh yeah.
6 a.m.
Interesting.
Who are actually really good.
I do remember they had a track in like the Rock Band games for like DLC or whatever. I don't know if I actually had it downloaded, but
yeah.
I
It could
do
have been
remember.
Life is Beautiful. I think that's
Yeah.
Because
Because I think he was I don't know if it was like Motley Crue had their own festival or they were playing Ozfest or what, but there was like some sort of pack where it was like that and a few other, like there might have been a Motley Crue track in there too. Oh my god. This usually happens on stream where I get super nostalgic, thinking back to the days of like when Rock Band and Guitar Hero DLC was actually good.
Yeah.
I don't know, did you actually play those games back in the day, like when they were popular, or?
I played World Tour quite often.
Oh, okay. Yeah, World Tour I remember playing a bit. I don't know. I was always much more of a Rock Band guy. Like Rock Band 2 especially was like just nostalgia central for me. I used to have like this band of like friends online that we would get together in like the online mode, and we'd try to go for like number one in the leaderboards as this I guess semi band, like all playing our fake instruments, trying to get some measure of clout in the Rock Band community.
Yeah, Guitar Hero I think was like one of those, like specifically World Tour because that was the one I preferred.
Oh yeah.
It's like introduced me to like a lot of songs that have like stayed in my head ever since. Like I remember Bullet for My Valentine had a song there. I don't think I got any of the DLC songs though because we didn't really have all that stable internet back then.
Oh, that makes sense. Tommy Lee's solo projects could be its own video. They're so cringe. Interesting. It looks like we have a conflicting opinion here.
Okay, plastic.
Hello, love your videos and Kiss in Boston. Huh? What'd you say?
No, I was just reading the chat, sorry.
Oh, okay, you're good. Hello, love your videos on Kiss in Boston, even though I had to use VPN to watch them. Thoughts on Methods of Mayhem? I don't think I've heard them.
That's
Methods of Mayhem.
apparently
rap
a band that
band.
Tommy Lee formed.
Oh, yeah. I don't think I've listened to them so much though. Given the fact that it was a new metal project that he formed at the turn of the 20th century, turn of the 21st century, I don't know how well that would hold up. See you guys later. Have a good rest of the stream. Take care, Plastic One. Thank you so much for coming by. God, that entire late 90s period where you had legacy rockers trying to pivot to like alternative rock or new metal, just fucking cringe. I don't know if you're familiar with Todd in the Shadows at all as a creator on YouTube?
Yes, I am actually. I do really like his videos, even though I haven't really looked at. I haven't really watched his stuff in a while.
I just I always go back to his video. Like usually when I think about Motley Crue, I usually go back to his video on fucking Generation Swine and how like. He made a good point that Motley Crue are a distinctly 80s band and that they really weren't destined to have success any other time than that.
Yeah.
It just feels like when you try to take a band that was all about, you know, partying and like fucking women and doing drugs and all that, and you try to like pivot that into more serious, like, I guess, like, not straight edge necessarily, but like, you know, like more locked in sort of perspectives, it doesn't really work.
Yeah. It's I don't think I've seen that specific video of
Oh, yeah.
his.
I
But I did
love
watch.
I love his Train Records series.
Yeah, Train Records is really good. I did watch, however, the one on Saint Anger
Oh yeah.
without any prior knowledge on how bad that album sounded, and I was
Oh
just like,
gosh.
by gods,
Yeah, no, it's funny. Like the
that
one
fucking snare.
like yeah, the one Saint Anger song that I think I really was exposed to and listened to before I like tried listening to the album was like Frantic, and that's okay. Like the one inclusion on Guitar Hero Metallica, that, you know, it's fine. But like I don't know, it's just like there's so much filler on that goddamn album. Like they just like why did they make the decision to cut guitar solos? Like, I know they were trying to be contemporary, but like, if there's anything Metallica is known for, it's their goddamn guitar solos. Like, you take those out, you just got a bunch of like unmemorable passages of filler riffs. As an extreme metalhead into stuff like Reek of Purification and Carcass, I unironically love Saint Anger. You know, that's the interesting thing too. Like, I wonder how much revisionism you could apply to that album in hindsight. Like, are there any bands like nowadays that are inspired by Saint Anger?
I don't know, a Five Finger Death Punch probably.
God, fucking. I don't know how to feel about Five Finger Death Punch sometimes, because like,
I don't like them personally.
yeah, no, I understand that very much. I mean, their fucking lead singer's a chud, and like, it just feels like a lot of their material nowadays is very, you know, provocative of like, you know, liberal tears or whatever. But like, I don't know, they had some banger tracks that were on you know, shout out to Rock Band Network, that experimental harmonics community project where they tried having people submit their own songs to upload to Rock Band and stuff. Like, Five Finger Death Punch put a few songs through there on that, and like, I remember having fun playing those, but like, I don't know if Five Finger Death Punch is what Pantera could have been if they didn't break up. Oh my god.
Oh god.
Or what Pantera are like now, god.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think like, if we go for, I had to choose between Five Finger and current Pantera, I'd actually take Five Finger Death Punch.
I mean, like, what was it? Who are the Pantera? Who do they have to replace the Abbott Brothers? It's Charlie Benante on drums and Zakk Wylde on guitar. I mean, you can get better musicians to replace the Abbott Brothers, but at the same time, it's just so fucking disrespectful that you have goddamn Phil Anselmo going up there and being his pudgy, racist ass singing these old Pantera songs just because he wants to recapture some old glory back in the day. I mean, I don't know. I remember seeing the other day, like a clip of like, I think it was like the video for Walk and the riff for Walk, and like there was just like somebody commenting like, this is the most racist riff I've ever heard, or something like that, and you're like, you're not entirely wrong, but also like, I don't know, it sucks that Pantera, so much of their legacy is unfortunately tangled in that sort of Southern racism, you know?
Very much so.
And I'm actually gonna have to talk about Pantera for that glam video because God, they had that entire fucking early '80s glam phase that they went through.
I didn't know about that. Holy crap!
No? Oh my God, that's.
I wasn't really. My brother really liked.
No,
my
it's
brother comes back.
it's fine. Like basically, I mean, a lot of Pantera fans pretend that the glam metal albums didn't happen, but they did. And you know, back in the early '80s, they were very much inspired by like Kiss, by Van Halen, by a lot of those earlier American metal bands that weren't really so extreme. So they were very much, in that sort of glam rock vein. One of the only actual southern glam rock bands to do so, actually. I think they were basically like the first southern glam rock band. But at a certain point, I think the Abbott brothers were listening to like Metallica or like a lot of the metal music that was coming up. I think Phil Anselmo actually introduced them to stuff like Exhorter or like Slayer, and from there it just sort of snowballed into the sound you got in Cowboys from Hell, Vulgar Display of Power, and fuck, I still love those albums to this day. Like they really did hit upon like the perfect sort of groove metal sound, but I have no desire to see them nowadays.
Yeah.
Doesn't help when 3 of the band members work with David Allan Coe. Oof, yeah.
I mean, I used to be a fan of Marilyn Manson, so I know how it feels.
God.
I still like. I know that's a whole thing that hasn't really been resolved.
No, yeah, I understand
like
what you mean, though.
Man. I was like, but at the same time, I was also like, I am honestly not fucking surprised.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. Like
and it's not like it's not like me just trying to like try and just basically like trying to just like say that like, oh, I had an idea all along that something was wrong with him. It was like in the case of Brian Warner, we knew full well that he did not have his life has been just an absolute series of unfortunate events after another.
Yeah.
So.
I definitely hear that. I mean, like, I feel like there's so much of like these 90s like cultural icons that got really big off of being these edgy tough guys that are nowadays just like coming off as oh my God, like, for instance, like fucking Kid Rock, like, coming off as being these absurdly hyper-conservative, cancel culture guys. It's really hilarious, but also kind of sad.
Very much so. There's also I was also thinking regarding like the whole me stating that like Sweden doesn't really have like a big local music scene anymore due to the lack of live venues. But I remembered we are actually going to be having like a pretty big music festival.
Cool.
In like next month. And I know Bring Me the Horizon is one of the headline acts.
Oh, that sounds neat.
Yeah, but the problem is that the tickets cost like what, €80? So no, we're good. Like initially, I was thinking like I was going to another concert that day anyway. That day anyway.
Right.
I'm going to see. I'm going to see Hanabi.
Oh, cool.
Japanese metal band that is very like metalcore, hardcore punk kind of.
That sounds cool.
They've gotten really very popular recently.
Hanabi.
I can actually write down.
Oh, I see.
I wrote down the name on in Discord DMs.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not sure how to spell it.
That's cool. We love to see more cool Japanese metal.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like, that's like the thing. Like, I feel like baby metal becoming so popular as they are.
Oh
helped
yeah.
like open up the gates for that.
Mm-hmm. Well, baby metal are really interesting in that they're
Mm.
they're like one of those idol groups taken to their most extreme, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean,
Ever sp-
all of the members, including former member Yui, they were all part of Sakura Gakuin,
oh
um,
yeah, yeah.
which were an actual idol group.
Mm.
So
What
definitely.
was it? Kiss, you know that they did a collab song with Momohiro Clover Z. I think I talked about that a bit in my
I
Fall of Kiss series, but
remember hearing about that at one point, I think.
yeah,
Yeah, that does
it's
sound
interesting.
like.
I mean, not exactly my favorite Kiss song or whatever, but
Yeah,
it's funny that we live in a universe where something like that happens.
yeah.
I mean, Kiss, they pretty much were idols.
Pretty much. Yeah, I agree.
American Idol. Oh God, not like the show.
I was about to say, careful with your wording there.
Hey, MPRI, how's it going, man?
Hello, hello.
Yeah, there's a lot of buzz about Japanese idol music in the VTuber space. I kind of feel I wish I could understand it more. I mean, I've always been like more the type to grow up on, Western rock and metal and music and pop and all that stuff. So, I don't know, it's just like an additional, I guess, subtitle barrier of entry to me getting into like
Yeah.
mainstream idol J-pop or K-pop or anything like that, but not to say there aren't any bangers.
Mm-mm-mm. Yeah.
How are you? I'm doing just fine. Having a chill convo with Air here, and we're just
No,
chilling.
no, I keep waving in real life as if.
It's
Ah.
okay. Got into music history from listening to grunge music and digging into the rich history. Oh, that's
Ooh.
interesting. I don't know where my passion for music history really began, but actually no, that's a lie. I probably like back in college, I think it really sort of like that intersect because I was a music and history double major. Like my tastes really started to intersect when I realized just how fun it was to make those connections between like what was going on in pop culture to what was going on, around it, and just like if a picture is worth 1,000 words, you listen to a song and it's like an entire goddamn novel. It's
Mm-hmm.
I love like going back and listening to like old music and knowing where that came from. What was I gonna say? Hey Mina, how's it going? Happy to tune into this. Visual K is kind of a specialty of mine, so I knew I had to tune in.
Ooh.
Well, yeah, I highly recommend subscribing to my friend Air here. She's a pretty big Visual K fan, and she's got some pretty good tastes.
I have a fair bit of ideas in regards to the Visual K subculture. Yes.
Boston video was awesome, by the way. Thank you, MPRI. Glad you think so. I don't know how much you do. Do you know much about Boston, Air?
A little bit, not that much really.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not that surprised. To be fair, like Boston probably aren't the biggest thing outside of the States, but like they were just fucking massive. They were one of the more, I guess, influential radio rock bands in the 70s. Tom Scholz is a genius though. I would what was that? Actually, Nori likes them quite a bit. If you ever if she ever brings them up to you, or
I think she might have mentioned them at one point. Maybe.
yeah, I don't know.
Like when I hear Boston, I keep thinking of the cities, like the or like is Boston a state or a city?
Yeah, no, I know. I just know she likes them quite a bit, and it makes sense to me because she's all about doing everything in house and like making all the guitars, doing all the drums, and Tom Scholes, like of Boston, he was basically a perfectionist in the studio as well. Like this was back in the day, like back in the 70s, where it was kind of hard to make like a home recording studio, and he was an employee of Polaroid very early on. So he had like this full-time salary that he was pouring into buying all these like tape machines, all of these microphones, basically the equipment that he needed to make like a home recording studio back in the 70s, which, you know, ran him like 12,000 something dollars back then, but nowadays would probably be nothing to us. But
Yeah.
you know, he did all that, and then he recorded all of his guitars, all of his bass, and, you know, recorded organ parts himself. You know, the only things that he didn't record back in the day were vocals and drums. So it's like it's a very sort of interesting story that like how early Boston came to be. Yeah, Mina's got it summed up best. First 3 albums great, 4th album good, albums 5 and 6 are neat oddities at best. The first indie rock. You see, that's interesting, like, because I mean, I don't think I would say Tom Scholes is indie. I mean, obviously he got a deal with Epic Records back in the day and CBS, and, you know, was selling out like gangbusters. Like he's selling his albums like fucking gangbusters. But I would say he's definitely one of the earliest bedroom pop pioneers. If not bedroom pop, bedroom rock, or whatever the fuck like Mac DeMarco would eventually get up to. Like Mac DeMarco, Kevin Parker, all those bedroom musicians nowadays that record in their, you know, basically in the bedrooms and their garages, they owe it all to those earlier pioneers back in the day. First vocal, yeah, but the vocalist he got was something else. Yeah, Brad Delp is great. First glam rocker, Little Richard. Oh, yeah, there's something to be said about Little Richard too. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, stretching can be very important.
Sorry. You're subbing 2024.
Yeah, all right. Completely forgot that Heath from X Japan passed away as well last year.
Oh yeah.
I remember that Sakurai stuff because I was at my internship at the time.
Oh yeah.
I was sitting down to have lunch, and I was like, "Why is Atsushi trending on Twitter?"
Man.
And I looked, and then it turns out that it's because Atsushi Sakurai had died earlier that month, and I was just extremely shocked.
Man. And somebody from the Gazette passed recently too, didn't they?
Yeah, their bassist.
God. Sucks.
I remember that. I remember that as well because that was literally the first thing I read when I woke up that morning. I was like,
God.
Really? It's too early.
That always fucking sucks being met with somebody you love dying first thing in the morning.
Yep.
Yeah.
I remember there's a musician I'm a fan of called Saki Rose. They considered Atsushi Sakurai like their kind of muse or like a major inspiration.
Oh yeah.
And they were absolutely destroyed when it was reported that he passed away.
Yeah, I'd imagine. Man. I remember like where I was when Michael Jackson died. That was that was a particularly unique circumstance because I was just coming back from. I know this is a sudden pivot from Visual K. I'm sorry, but just like
it's all right.
on the subject of like remembering.
I have a similar story. So
because I was coming back from this like ferry from like an island in Mexico or whatever. And like these tourists were on the boat, like in front of us or whatever. It was like my mom and I sitting somewhere, and these tourists were ahead of us talking about like reports of Michael Jackson's death, and we were like, "What?" So we go back to our hotel room and we turn on the Spanish Mexican news, and obviously they're all reporting about it, and it's just like shit.
Yeah, I remember the reports of Michael Jackson's death because we had just come back from a vacation in France.
Oh man.
And we just read the newspapers and my mom just goes like, well, damn. And her husband just goes like, wait, what happened? What happened? It's like, Michael Jackson apparently died.
Damn.
Like, coming back and that being like the first thing you hear about after having been in another country for quite some time. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to note down Bucktick. I don't think I've heard of
Bucktick
their...
are amazing. I really adore their music and their general sound. And as Mina wrote in the chat, Atsushi Sakurai's voice was a key part of that sound. And like, I really want to cover one of their songs one day, but I need to figure out what the heck to do with the instrumental.
Oh god,
and how to like recreate the instrumentals if I need to do so.
Yeah, for your covers, do you usually put together or do you like commission that out?
I use official instrumental. I use official instrumentals or instrumental remix that I can possibly find. I haven't commissioned anybody, and I don't have any like music theory knowledge. Sadly,
yeah,
so.
no, that's for me. I've always just like thank God. Another good thing about the old Rock Band Guitar Hero games, like because they had so many original songs and their master recordings put through those games, you can easily find like vocalless instrumentals of like songs from those games. So like those have been like a goddamn boon to me for my karaoke videos, for instance. Well, karaoke, also kind of like drum cover videos, but you know, the one downside, obviously, it's gonna get copyright claimed, so
yeah. Happens to all of us, actually.
Yeah, I mean,
not just the best of us, just all of us.
Yeah, it's not like I do this to get paid. I do this for the fun of it. But like,
yeah,
it sucks that I guess technically, I mean, I understand it. Technically, it's not original audio 100%, but
yeah. But yeah, I think they said that they were going to be Bucktick did say they were going to be continuing as a 4-man band, so I think it might be possible that Imai is going to be taking over, or whoever it was who was usually Achan's backing vocalist.
Interesting.
Meanwhile, Gazette announced that they will be continuing as a 5-man band as per Reita's wishes. So at one point they are probably going to be they will probably have a new bassist.
That's good. Well, I mean,
well,
it is what it is. It's nice that they are able to move on. I guess.
An album. My recommendation whenever you want to like get into Bucktick and like listening to Bucktick, I recommend starting with the 2015 remaster version of their album Aku no Hana. That's like one of their earliest albums, and it's such a good way to start, I feel personally. But also Darker Than Darkness from 94 is also really good. That's probably their most famous song, which is Dores, which is Dress.
Now, one of those bands where most albums are a different genre from the other. Oh, interesting. So they're kind of like a Visual K King Gizzard.
I guess so.
I don't know how much you know about King Gizzard.
I know a
and the
little
Lizard
bit
Wizard,
about
but...
King Gizzard because Gareth, my friend Gareth, is also a fan.
Oh, okay.
So I have an idea, but not much.
God, I'm fucking obsessed with them. I've got 2 videos on my channel going in excruciating detail into their music. But
yeah, I got sent a video of someone matching up the intro for one of their songs with Crispin Glover's dance scene in front of the 13th, the final chapter.
I can picture that.
That was my first exposure.
Visual.
You did a Bucktick album ranking. Ooh. I am definitely gonna look at that. Yeah.
I don't use rate your music that often. I mean, as a rater, I've never I don't think I've ever made an account on there. At least that's Resi.
Yeah, I don't really. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, rate your. I mean, it's fun to look through, I guess, sort of the rankings, see how the general population views those albums. But I don't know. I've always been more to try and listen for myself.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
uh,
understandable.
yeah. Though it is really interesting. Like they have so many like obscure like uh specific subgenres for like sort of like Anthony Fantano. I don't know how familiar you are with his videos,
Oh,
but
I am very familiar regarding
oh,
Anthony Fantano.
oh, okay, but I love his
I don't watch his videos, but I do know of him.
yeah. He does this series where he like it's a genre quiz essentially where his editor will go into rate your music and take a bunch of absurd sounding subgenre name. Well, rather they'll take one absurd subgenre from rate your music, like a real actual subgenre that music's been ranked under, and they'll put it among like 3 other bullshit options that could equally work. And then, you know, it's put in front of either him or like his guests, and they're asked to pick the real genre. It's really funny stuff.
Yeah.
Done a variety of stuff from Bucktick to Danger to Rave. Oh yeah. Another thing, Danger. I remember there I don't know, speaking, I guess, kind of pivoting back to video game soundtracks, I don't know if you're familiar with how, like, Danger and a few other, like, late-era glam metal bands later pivoted onto singing for, the Sonic soundtracks.
This is the first time I hear about it, actually.
Yeah, like, Ted Poley, I think it's, hold on, I don't want to get this wrong, Ted Poley, was he the singer for Danger? Yes, he was the lead vocalist of Danger, and he later contributed a few tracks to the Sonic Adventure soundtrack. It was him, Tony Harnell, I think, of the band TNT, and also, God, what's his face? Johnny Gioeli of Hardline, later Crush 40, that of course sang, you know, Open Your Heart, Live and Learn.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's interesting the legacy that glam metal left in the 90s, even when it was on the decline, like getting its ass kicked by grunge. Hot take, I'm not a big fan of Genesis' Nursery Crime album, and I think Wind and Withering is their best album. I will admit, I don't know too much about Genesis myself. Like, I think the Genesis album I'm most familiar with is Selling England by the Pound. I think that's probably my most known Genesis album. I mean, otherwise, I'm more familiar with Peter Gabriel, if anything, than like Genesis. And I feel that might be speaking sacrilege, but for a prog rock fan, but okay. Pull up. Listening to here on YouTube. Oh, I guess I've completely neglected to mention you're a singer, right?
Yes.
I kind of described you as an alto in you know in my post advertising this, but is that necessarily accurate? I mean, you sound like one, but
It's I guess that's the closest descriptor, yeah.
Mm-hmm. How long have you been singing?
That's a great question. Actually, I don't actually know. I think I've been like singing for as long as I could possibly remember, but it's always been like more of a hobby thing.
Right. Have you taken lessons ever?
No, I haven't. I have
okay.
considered doing it, but I have like I had like a very bad stage fright. So I kind of
I mean, that makes
excuse me.
sense. You know, I
Yeah.
when you know, I had I sang a bunch back in the day. You know, used to do choir, used to do chamber choir, and I even took like vocal lessons in college. But then I eventually focused on the drums, and I don't know. I think I feel like a more natural fit behind a drum kit, like trying to give like people like their tempo and like changing like dynamics or whatever of the
Mhm.
song on a dime. Like I don't know. I like leading, but not necessarily as the leader, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I get that. I am like I like singing kind of more as like a like I have like I tend to be um I tend to be like someone who like I have like very bad like combination of imposter syndrome and like perfectionism going on for me.
Oh yeah.
So that's why I sometimes it's like when I've done covers, it can take like very long time or almost no time at all between
Yeah.
covers, depending on how I'm feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's easy for me to kind of get like I don't want to say disillusioned, but that's like the best term I could come up with directly. Like
Yeah.
get disillusioned with my skills, and it's like it's especially been a thing recently. But
Yeah.
hopefully one fucking day I will actually be able to boot up the phantom power on my mic.
Imposter syndrome is a bitch, but for what it's worth, I do think you have a very good voice.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. No, you and Nori, you do a good duet together. You know, obviously, when she produces for you, when you help contribute for her, you make for a good team.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you think that better.
Yeah. No, it's fine. It's fine.
Words are hard.
Man. Yeah. I just wish I knew more about the production end of things myself. I mean, I think I'm more of the opposite problem of you, whereas, you know, I put together covers, you know, I've got my karaoke's, I've got my drum track, I've got my vocal track, and I tried to mix it as evenly as well as I can, but I only do it through like my earbuds. I don't listen to it like you know, on via other stereos. I don't have like I don't know, like
Yeah.
I don't bounce it off of other people. Like I just sort of post and I'm like, yeah, it's good. Yeah, here's me covering a song.
Yeah, that's I do that occasionally as well. Like the mixing is like where I struggle the
Yeah.
most, probably.
Yeah, I mean it's just so hard to account for like everybody's unique like listening situations, right? Because like
Hmm.
I you know, I like I said, I usually wear like earbuds. Like, God bless Raycon. This stream is not sponsored, but 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 I've had a pair of Raycon earbuds for the past few years, and they've been treating me pretty well. But like I don't have much of an eye for like I don't know, like if people have their own like unique stereo systems, if people have like full enveloping headphones that they listen on, like I usually just kind of mix for one flat thing, and I don't know. I have to fix that.
Mm.
And it's it's the same thing too with like mixing videos and like doing audio for that and matching video. Like I don't know. It's a every VTuber I think struggles with audio problems at one point or another.
Yep. I
And
think that's like I don't even think that's like a probability. It's just a certainty that there is always going to be some audio stuff. I
yeah.
remember one time when I was streaming Elden Ring um when I had to when I had to troubleshoot for like half of an hour before I was
Oh
actually
God.
able to stream.
Yeah, no, back in the day, I remember it was kind of a struggle. Like when I first started off and didn't really have much of an audience, just sort of trying to build myself up organically by streaming as often as I could. Like I had audio problems like out the wazoo, and I tried fixing it as best I could from stream to stream, but like because I didn't really have anybody in my chat like saying, "Oh my God, this is too loud" or something like that. I was kind of like, ugh. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really have any lifelines back in the day, but nowadays, I don't know. I'm thankful to have more people on my ass about that.
Oh, likewise. Same here.
Yeah. God. We'll see how that all turns out when I eventually do a karaoke stream.
Hopefully it'll go well.
Yeah, I've never I mean, not that I ever care about like monetizing my streams or whatever. I've never really had the inclination to do a karaoke stream because I want to keep those memories up and sharing them. Like, it's not like Hololive or Niji Sanji where anybody is guaranteed to clip you singing whatever unarchived song you want to do, right?
Mhm.
Like, it's... I mean, I'll always have the VOD, but... sorry, I'm rambling, but it's just... You know what I mean. It's just like...
Yeah.
I feel like, I would have a fun time doing a karaoke stream. I just don't know... I don't know if it would be worth it, as opposed to other things, other priorities on my channel.
Mm-mm. Yeah, I can get that.
So I don't know how you're feeling. It looks like we are a few minutes to midnight where you are, but
Yeah, a few minutes to midnight here.
For me, it's almost 6. I might end it off here and go over to. Sorry, go ahead.
I think that might be a good idea since I am gonna be a bit busy tomorrow.
It's all well and good, You've got your whole D&D thing with whatchamacallit, your brother, your whatnot. I was gonna say, Eder, if you've got anything to plug, anything to promote, the floor is yours.
I don't really have anything. I mean, I guess I have my YouTube channel to promote. I have my YouTube channel to promote, and that's really it, I guess. Should I just link it in the chat, or?
I don't know. I've got it in. I mean, I've tagged you in the description, but if you want to drop it in chat, that's all.
If you want to, oh yeah, right, yeah, I do see that I am just straight up tagged on tagged in the description. So yeah, feel free to. I don't know, feel free to subscribe if you want to. Maybe follow me on Twitter, even though I'm not really that active right now. The only other thing I would like to say is just be good people.
Yes, thank you.
That's like the thing that I've been like trying to live by for.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Ed, once again. Thank you, Mina and Gazi, for tuning in, and everybody else who came by. I always love these chatting streams, love talking with other people about their musical tastes and all that stuff. And yes, if you loved Ada's company today, if you liked her takes, definitely subscribe to her. She does other sorts of variety streams herself, so never a dull moment on her channel. But yeah, everybody, thank you so much. I'm gonna see if there's anybody I can raid into. I don't know if like Kendra or any other indies are streaming at the moment, but there's Polka and Kiara, but I don't know. I would feel weird, raiding into a big name agency VTuber like a Hololive or Niji Sanji with my 7 people. I don't know. So I think I'm going to leave it off there, but Ed, once again, thank you for joining me. Thank you all in chat for joining me for discussing. And I will see everybody else, later. Probably, I owe y'all an update on my glam video series. I know I tend to get buried in the weeds of the research and the reading and the whatnot, but I owe you guys a post on the community tab, if not some more in-depth thing on Patreon that I can link to. I don't know. I owe a bunch of people a bunch more information on what I'm doing now and when, and I can't wait to share it all. But until then, I will see y'all next time. Bye-bye. Oh, nope. Wrong expression. Bye-bye. And
I think you cut out